Hi, and welcome to The Fluid Voice. This is a pre-recording, just to mention that ahead of time. I am Ozma in the Dark, as usual, hosting this show and rocking she/they pronouns. Christy will not be here because she is having some personal troubles, and, you know, it's its own thing. Perfect. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. He, him pronouns, and we'll miss Christy, but we'll forge on.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not like she's not coming back.
Right, I know. But, I mean, we've only got to get through a show. We'll be okay.
Well, I mean, it's the second show for me. But anyways, today we have our guest, Becki. How is it? How are you doing?
I am good, thank you. Hi, I'm Becki. They, them pronouns.
Yeah, and you work with voice practice and ADHD advocacy.
So
That's the word.
Yeah, so I'm primarily a voice teacher, voice specialist. I sort of started as a singing teacher, and then I've been sort of specializing in working with trans voices the last kind of year and a half or so. And I'm now kind of like working with people on like singing and speaking and things like that, which is really awesome. And yeah, I've got ADHD, and so I'm kind of I sort of only got diagnosed like last year, so I'm trying to kind of like just share lots of information and, you know, kind of just support people because it's just so underdiagnosed. And yeah, I'm just learning about like the crossovers between all neurodivergencies as well at the moment, and I'm kind of going, oh, I may also be autistic.
Shock. Well, you will be in good company, by the way, because
yeah,
me and Perfict have both been diagnosed on the autism spectrum. Like, it's yeah, no, it's interesting. So before we get to the topic, like, share, comment, subscribe, post the click the bell, whatever, and just to get that out of the way. So today our topic is masking and passing, and I kind of put those two together, partially so there's more to talk about, but also partially because there are elements of those that cross over, I feel like, in the way it manifests in society. So obviously I have plenty of experience worrying about passing, and which shouldn't really be a worry in society, but it is because of personal risk related reasons. I mean, I guess I never really picked up on a lot of societal stuff, so I didn't really think about masking and understanding it till more recently. That said, what are your two, either of your initial thoughts, and then we can dive right in.
Well, I think it's kind of, I'm interested in the voice training thing because I do know that the voice thing is I just know it, that people talk about it a lot, that it's a big deal for them in the trans community, in switching and feeling comfortable in being out in public and like, being present.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say, like, voice obviously comes into like masking and passing like a lot, and just that topic in general. And like, yeah, my experiences with like masking, particularly, like I've been unmasking, like I've learning to like unmask since getting my diagnosis of ADHD last year, and then like exploring it more. And like, you know, I'm sitting here playing with like, you know, like a bag of elastic bands, which is my current like stim, and it's just wild to kind of think of like how much I masked when I was like, well, not even younger, but just like, you know, a couple of years ago, and I'm like learning about all that now. and then yeah, from kind of like the other side of that topic of like the like passing, like it's such a huge topic, isn't it? Because I mean, as a like non-binary agender person, I don't really have an option. Like I can't.
Well, yeah, that creates its own difficulties, and
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So like, I'm perceived as a cis woman most of the time, and like there isn't really an option. Like, you know, if somebody did use like gender neutral pronouns for me, for example, like I'd like just out on the street, or like, you know, just out in the world, like standard world, I'd probably kind of be shocked. I'd be like, oh wow, someone who actually is like inclusive and understands that, like, you know, presentation doesn't equal gender and pronoun, you know,
Yeah,
because it's just not standard practice. So it's kind of like wherever I go, I will not like pass as who I am. And I think it's such a nuanced topic, as everything is.
Yeah.
And then yeah, with the voice, like obviously there's a lot of stuff around that. And yeah, like working with people on their voices, particularly sort of working with trans people, it is a big sort of thing, and I think there's a lot of different angles from the voice. Sort of Perfect was saying, interested about that. There's sometimes people want to explore their voice just for themselves, honestly, because it's like finding their authentic voice that they want to connect with. And sometimes people are actually like super happy with their voices for themselves, but they like feel like they want to, but they also have that feeling of like they need to like explore how to adjust their voice to be in different situations, so that they can kind of make their voice like match their presentation in like the way that other people are perceiving them, for safety. So it's like a really big topic, and there's lots of different angles, and I think that does tie in completely with the concept of just passing, which is there.
It's I mean, with a lot of this stuff, it's this double-edged sword, because even with masking, if I go to an interview and I don't make any effort to mask, I am less likely to get a job.
Yeah.
Significantly less likely to get a job, which is a problem. And I mean, sorry, my brain went to disability related stuff, but that's like its own
ableism. Yeah.
No, that's its own topic, just because that's related to job stuff, and you know, they don't see the fact that having to ask for clarification repeatedly, they don't factor in that that's not good. That's going to hurt my ability to get a job or even keep a job. But it's so like in society as is, because of ableism, I feel like there are benefits to masking some of the time to survive, but it's not good for like just about every other scenario, because it's energy wasting.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think like and I think because there's a lot, like I've been seeing a lot of talk about this recently as well, because a lot of people will be like, oh, but I like change how I act in certain situations. They'll be like neurotypical people saying that or what have you, and it's like, yeah, there's a difference between like code, like I think it's termed like code switching or something, and like masking. And like you said, it's like if you're masking, it's that energy that it takes.
Yeah, like in terms of code switching, I do that every show, right before the episode when I'm talking, and once the episode starts, then I code switch to, you know, dealing with the episode. But I don't really mask while doing the episode.
Yeah.
Because I don't try to. Like the most I do is try to look in the general direction of the camera.
Yeah, and I think like it's there's so much like internalized ableism. Like I know, obviously, and it's like sort of a big sort of topic on its own, but like I think that is relevant to masking because like the reason that we mask is because of, like you were saying, like, you know, if you don't mask, it's like in a job interview you're gonna be less likely to get that job, and that's because of ableism. So we mask in order to like be perceived in a certain way, which is not how we would normally behave. And it's like, for, you know, because the world is set up to be like, you know, neurotypical, cishet, like, you know, able-bodied, all of that, like sort of thing.
Largely men as well.
Yeah. I mean, I have like a phrase that I use quite often when I'm like talking about stuff like this, where I think it like comes up on autocorrect on my phone now, where it's something like white, cishet, straight, or that's the same thing. So it'd be like white, cishet, like neurotypical, like not, you know, not physically disabled men. Like that's it's like the blueprint that the world has been set up on, and like every like step away from that like is like less privilege, you know. And so when you're like the further away from that like blueprint you are, the more that you will like mask or you know, that like, and that's where some code switching can come in, because like people who are neurotypical may code switch in different situations in order to get what they like want because of the people that are around them. But I think like that ultimately it's the difference between the fact that like they could do that, you know, day in day out and not like have a meltdown and burn out from just like existing, whereas like neurodivergent people are gonna burn out and then just like be in bed. And because of like internalized ableism, because of how society is set up, like I don't know about like you, but for me, I'm still working on it, but like I've had to work really hard to like undo that kind of thought process of like I have to be productive all the time. So like, do you know what I mean? Like I literally have had like burnouts recently. Like I may still be in burnout. Like it's something I'm still exploring because I don't really fully understand it for myself. But like I have definitely had meltdowns recently, like since like learning to unmask and stuff, because I'm finally like, oh my gosh, like I can actually like, I'm allowed to do this. I'm allowed to be like this. And so of course it's like 30 years of like masking and hiding it. And like I remember having a meltdown like or like I don't know if it would be considered like a meltdown or a shutdown or something, but like a couple of months ago I think, and I'd like talked about it like before it happened with my girlfriend, because we talk about all this sort of stuff and talk about like how can we support each other with these sorts of things, because she's got ADHD as well. So and I'd said like, yeah, I do find sometimes I go nonverbal and this and that, and like she supported me amazingly. But what I thought was really interesting was like during it I could almost feel like my attempt at masking like kept trying to like come forwards, and I had to keep telling myself like, you don't have to do that, like you don't have to mask, and it was just this really bizarre thing, because I could just feel like, yeah, I have experienced this before, but people haven't seen it because I've masked it, and that has then resulted in like a knock-on effect.
And so for me, well, actually, Perfect. Do you have something to say? Because you've been really quiet.
No, I'm just absorbing here. Sorry.
Okay, you're absorbing for the chance to make the clutch play of saying something really poignant. I see how it is, Perfect. I know your deal.
You got me.
So for me, when it comes to I don't think I've really tried to mask, but I tend to be like,
I'm not sure I fully understand masking.
Okay, so
what
like,
all is involved.
So
I could give you an example, like literally now.
Yeah.
If you want.
Okay.
Like so at the moment, like, and I'm still exploring what masking and unmasking means to me, but like at the moment I am not like masking as much as I have done in the past, because I'm sitting like playing with elastic band, right? So if I was doing this like say 2 years ago, like before I got my diagnosis, right, I wouldn't even be sitting the way I'm sitting. I would be sitting like this, and I wouldn't be fidgeting. And I would like, that's how I would be doing this like video right now. And I would sit and be very like, like the whole time. And I would crash afterwards. I would be exhausted because I want to be sitting, you know, like this with an elastic band. And like letting my eyes wander occasionally and stuff. And like I may still partially be masking at the moment. I don't really know because I'm like still exploring it. But like I guess like looking at that, it's like, well, surely, you know, if you're sitting like fidgeting with something or what have you, surely you'll be like more tired afterwards. But actually like this is helping me focus, because it's like if I'm not doing this, like if I was sitting like masking, I would probably not catch all the words. I would kind of like, my brain would just like, you know, go off in a different direction, and a question would be asked and I'd be like, nah. Whereas like this, it's like, you know, I'm able to like listen and not like get distracted by other things around me because I'm fidgeting, because I'm not masking, or at least not fully masking as I would have before I was aware I was neurodivergent, and started like exploring what that meant for me.
It's when you're focused entirely on a illusory pretense.
Yeah, I guess it's just thinking about, there's all these rules, isn't there, of like
creating the illusion of normalcy.
And that takes effort.
Yeah.
That takes real effort. Like, I am technically aware how to look, quote unquote, look someone in the eyes, because it's not just looking someone in the eyes. I am. Oh yeah, no, like I am here, aware of how to do it.
You look here, or?
Well, no. What you do is you swap between have your eyes flit between like eyes and mouth.
Oh yeah.
That is how that is done. But I mean, they're just like, look them in the eye, and I'm just like, no, don't stare at them in the eye. Look at them in the eye. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
What's the difference? Like,
what do you want?
I am knowledgeable now about how to do that. But if I did do that all the time with people, it would take enormous amount of effort. And I would totally crash afterwards if I had to do that.
And like,
don't look him in the eye at the end of your sentence.
Oh my god,
that's challenging.
Oh no,
what?
Complicated shit. I forgot about that part of it. Why is looking people in the general direction of their face so goddamn complicated? I know, and how the fuck do people like pick it up like it's nothing? It's just weird. It's a lot easier to understand how people feel, but from their body language. So looking at people in the face is less. It isn't as good sometimes when it comes to, well, at least some aspects of body language. It's easier to do when you look at their body.
Why are you looking at their feet? Because I want to know what they're thinking.
I remember, like, I just remembered something from when I was kind of like a teenager or what have you, because I don't have many like memories, particularly like emotional memories of like my past, which makes it really hard to like identify stuff. But occasionally like little things will come up, like this has just like popped into my head as you were saying about like, oh, you like flick between like eyes and mouth, and I was like, oh my gosh, I remember like as a I don't know, a teenager or something, like hearing this, you know, like whatever, you're meant to look people in the eyes, but you're also also meant to look at their mouths, because then that shows you're like paying attention. But then there was something like, if you are like, if someone's staring at your mouth, it means that they fancy you. And then it's like, wait, like what? And so I'm like, okay, so do, and then I'm questioning myself. I'm like, do I fancy this person because I'm staring at their mouth? Like, I'm just trying to like work out what they're saying. And I'm like, oh no, now I'm like, I have auditory processing issues. I was like attempting to lip read so that I didn't miss words as well. Like, and then like, no, I'm staring at their mouth now. And I've not like, you know.
Yeah, and neurotypical society is really weird and has really weird hang-ups, and they need to... Here's the thing. Listening to marginalized people has the possibility of making society better for everyone, and I think people should shut the fuck up about looking people in the goddamn face or not looking at people in the goddamn face.
Yeah, like, I'm like, I literally, because we're talking about it, I'm kind of like thinking about like, you know, masking and unmasking, and I'm like aware that I'm now like kind of like looking around my room a little bit more, and like just rather than kind of like looking at the camera, because that's actually where I like what I want to be doing. That's like my eyes want to wander. But like, yeah, that definitely I would say that like I've experienced that kind of like, if I'm staring, because I'm often staring at like something else, like maybe like a poster on the wall or something. Like, I mean, I'm in my teaching studio, so I've got like stuff all around me with, you know, writing on them and stuff. So it's like I'm, you know, staring at these things, and it's like I would get told like, oh, you're not paying attention because you're like reading that on the wall or something instead. And I'm like, I'm actually really not. I'm just kind of staring at it because it's a bright color, and I've decided I like that right now.
Yeah.
And that's actually helping me to hear you better.
Yeah, and it's like I am generally not. I tend not to look at people, or either don't look at them in the face or accidentally stare. Which is amusing when I'm like having a conversation and someone else is talking and I'm staring at like the wrong person just because it's like comfortable to stare in that direction. And maybe it's because the window, it's probably because the window is in the direction. But yeah, I've gotten shit from roommates for staring at one roommate while I'm listening to another. Like good-natured humorous bullshit, but still.
See, like I hear you on that. Like that felt like a qualifier, and like correct me if I'm wrong, but like I feel like we do that a lot. Like people do that a lot, where it's like we'll kind of say something and then we'll realize that like that could be misinterpreted or what have you, and we'll be like, oh, but like they mean well, like it's fine. And it's like they probably do, like that's cool, they're probably lovely people, and that's amazing. But also like my like opinion on like friends and supportive people and stuff is like you learn about each other and like you support each other in what you need. So it's like I literally hate being like, I hate the whole concept of like or like just like friendly banter and like, or just like being ribbed and like stuff like that. It makes me really uncomfortable, and I don't get it. I'm like, I don't understand, like you're making fun of me because you like me. That it doesn't compute. And like the amount of times I have been told like, oh no, like we meant it in like a friendly way. I'm like, you meant to insult me in a friendly way? Like you meant to like be mean to me in a friendly way? And like I just feel like that's another part of like society that I'm like, I just don't get that. I'm like, why are you like being mean to people? I like. And so then we like defend them because we're like, oh no, they're like nice people though. And I just think like, I don't know, I think I'm very much like, over the last couple of years, since I was like seeking my ADHD diagnosis and then got diagnosed, and obviously been in, I'm in the UK, so like in the lockdown for ever, because doesn't know how to do anything. Am I allowed to say that? Have now.
Yeah, but you have so many fewer people dying. I'm sorry.
The swearing is fine. Mentioning depressing or harsh stuff. I mentioned on this show about the Berdizo I purchased when I was desperate with relation to transitioning. We can get heavy if we want to, and I've also said I think just about every swear word, so long as it's not like a racist swear word. Or homophobic swear words. So
yeah, like I think that's an interesting like concept as well of like, oh, you know, like swear words are like what's the word, like offensive and stuff.
I never got that.
But like casual like, you know, racism or homophobia or like, you know, that within society is like whatever. And I'm like, and then people get like uppity at you for like picking them up on stuff like that, and it's like you're being mean to people. Like, stop being mean to people. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, swear, yeah, but like, don't be mean to people.
Yeah. Well, don't be mean to people for how they're born. Because
don't,
because like calling someone a fucking hateful, bigoted bitch. Is not the same. That has nothing to do with how they're born. That has to do with how they chose to continue their life.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. I feel like I completely took us off topic there.
You did. I was actually just about to bring up the questions to try to bring it back on topic.
Masking.
Yeah, so like what's the most annoying part about masking? I can't I'm suddenly managed to forget everything that we've said already because that's how my brain's going to go today.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like for me, I'm like at the end of my day. So like my meds have worn off. Well, you know, it's like, so I'm like train of thought, it's great. Like I think that's such a big question. Like, what's the most annoying part of masking? I don't know. Like, not knowing I was doing it. I think. Like,
yeah, no, that's a big thing. Similarly for me, I think for me it was not knowing that masking is something I might need to do. That aspects of masking are expected by society. That was something I didn't realize forever, and that's annoying as fuck because that didn't help.
I feel like I had quite like a different kind of like from like growing up because I was assumed neurotypical. Like I didn't even know that like neurodivergent was a thing, really. Like I didn't really know what it was. I was treated as like neurotypical, you know, and like so obviously you live by those rules. And then I like, you know, I would just study people and like, you know, figure things out and like constantly just feel like, oh, am I doing things right? And just you kind of like you learn how to mask, and I think that just the way that like society is set up and like school, for example, like the way that school works with like how it rewards certain things, like it, I mean school is ableist, like the that was my elastic band. The education system is ableist, like fully. And it's like, so I was, you know, brought up, I mean I wasn't diagnosed at a young age because I had good grades and like I was not like, you know,
same. Although my grades are a complicated thing because I was in AP classes, but there are also classes that I failed because I didn't do the homework at all. And like half the grade was homework, so I failed the class. Even if I like aced all the tests, it was just like, no, you fail because you didn't do all the homework.
No, totally. I basically existed on the last minute, like, sort of like everything was the last minute. Like I crammed for exams and stuff, and just, like I regularly would be like, I don't know how I'm doing this. Like I don't know how I'm doing this. But I just am. But like I have these like feelings that like, so I sort of said like I struggle with like memories, but I sometimes get like these like feelings that are kind of like memories. I term them like mem feels, because they're just kind of like, it's that I can't like pin them, but they kind of, I feel them in myself. It's like my reality. So like I know that I would get told to like sit still a lot, like just as a matter of course, like Becki, sit still, like stop moving around, like and like stop talking. I mean, you know,
sit still, stop daydreaming.
Yeah.
Make up your mind.
Like,
which do you want?
Yeah, like like it's like, if I sit still, I will not be focusing. So if you would like me to not focus, I will sit still for you. But like I will not be able to tell you what you said. But if you let me sit like this, I will be able to potentially even like recite word for word what you've just told me. Like, but like society doesn't even, like, they don't think like that. It's not set up like that. It's like, these are the rules and this is how it works. And like, I mean, I've worked in schools. I'm a private teacher, but then I've worked in schools a few times across the years. And like this was before I knew I was neurodivergent as well. And it's like, like looking back, I'm just like looking at things. I would be trying to like follow the rules of this, because I was sort of like a visiting teacher. So I'd be like following the rules of the schools and things. And there's just so many. And I'm just like, can I just like, just let me do my thing? Like, let me just work with them as people. Like, why do I have to like mark them on these arbitrary things? And like, just let me understand them as people and work with them. And I mean, I did that to an extent while still trying to like, you know, do the things that were needed. But like, honestly, like big props, like hat off to like, you know, ed teachers that work in schools, because like it's hard. It is so hard. And like I stopped because I just couldn't deal with it. Like I loved the kids. I loved the subjects I was teaching. I loved all of it. But like I was exhausted by trying to like basically like enforce these like, you know, this like system that is built on oppression basically. And I didn't really realize it at the time. This was like years and years ago. And now looking back, I'm like, I was exhausted because I was masking and I was trying to uphold these things that I like don't even agree in and believe in. And so I was just crashing, like, because I was masking so heavily.
And to bring another one of my more common questions, because it is something I care about. I don't know if you have experienced emotional abuse in the past. Or aspects of it. I know I have. And I was wondering, so like, in my opinion, there are aspects of masking that apply to, like, if you don't mask, you're more likely to get bullied, you're more likely to get emotionally abused, because they oftentimes go after people they view as weaker and more exploitable, and if you're not accepted by people, I get the impression that it's easier for emotionally abusive people to take advantage of you. I don't know if either of you two had any thoughts about that, or experiences or anything that you would want to say. It's just, I care about abuse.
Yeah. I like, honestly, if I just keep jumping in and talking, Perfect, if you want to like jump, like just like I'll just jump in and keep talking.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, Perfect's the amount of talking Perfect does varies from episode to episode, and I think it varies to I don't know. It probably just is a day by day thing.
I've contributed. I've been here.
Yeah, no, you have. I was just thinking about the Colin episode. You're talking like a lot in that episode, and some episodes you're like a lot more quiet and just like popping in good points occasionally, and that's another thing that shouldn't be forced, because not everyone talks the same amount, and that relates to neurotypical stuff and masking.
Totally.
But back to abuse.
Yes. Yeah, we can circle back around to that if we remember it. I was bullied at school, absolutely. I would say like I basically throughout my whole like education sort of experience, I felt like I was basically like on the fringes of friendship groups. I was kind of like, oh yeah, they're my friends, but like I feel like I'm not. Like there was things they would do and say that I wouldn't get, like that whole like what I was saying about like, oh like joking around and just like like basically bullying, but like but the friend one, and I'm like, is that a thing? Like I do not feel like that's a thing.
So this is like one of the things that I think I've been able to piece together. So when it comes to bullying, like, so I mean, for one, I similar stuff with childhood. Like I have no memory of friends before 5th grade. Well, no, outside of, oh shit, I forgot. Like, I had a couple friends or whatever, but sometimes, a lot of times, it felt like they were friends of one of my siblings more, and they weren't really my friends. And yeah, I felt very much out of touch as well. But in terms of the friendship banter thing, when done properly, I get the impression that friendship banter is supposed to be like ridiculous. Like the person does not think that you do this, nor do they think like it. It's like they're making an absurdist joke with relation to something you said. And there's ways that can go that's mean, and there's ways that can go that is just a joke. It depends on how well they know you and how well they understand you. And much as, so like, my roommates are mixed bags in terms of ableism, and I think Zavaris, who's been on the show before, there are aspects that he does that is less ableist than my other roommate, but there are aspects that are still tied into ableist values, like if you try hard enough, you can accomplish as much as I know it is. Yeah, that is my feeling. But at the same time, like he understands. I mean, he didn't initially, but he understands when he's like pushing too hard and like causing me emotional distress or whatnot. And he's like, he knows when to back off in those sorts of circumstances, and he apologizes if he actually does cause trouble with that, which I don't think my other roommate, despite knowing her longer, I don't think she does as well with me in that respect. And it's just so like,
I think there's room for people, like everybody has to have room for like other people to be learning and growing, and like we all exist in the society that has been created around us. And so we all have like unconscious bias and beliefs that are like from when we were little, and just, we all have those, but we all have to be working to like undo those in ourselves. And like,
undo the bad stuff, because there's like, good stuff too.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, the sort of like ableism and just all this, like the systemic issues. And like, we will all make mistakes, like I've made mistakes definitely in the past, and I will make mistakes again in the future, because like we can't know everything and we can't know the way to approach everything. But like my kind of measure of something is kind of, or like, of a person, and if there's somebody that I want to kind of like have around in my life, is like, if they are making that effort, if they want to make that effort and grow and learn, and they can like acknowledge, when they've done something wrong, and then like learn from that, like, not do it again. And like, I don't know, like I'm really passionate about intersectionality, inclusivity and stuff.
Same. I think it's vital for getting any sort of beneficial progress done. I think you need to be inclusive, and so if I'm going full socialist here again, and freedom is just a privilege extended unless everyone's free.
Yeah, no, totally. And like, I acknowledge like the privileges that I have. Like, I know that the privileges that I have like put me where I am, like I am full-time self-employed. I've struggled this year, but like, who hasn't, apart from the billionaires, but like, I am full-time self-employed, and although I have worked hard to get here and to build up my business and everything to do that, like actually, if I had a different like set of privileges, if I had less privileges in this, the systemic system, in the systematic
in this system as it exists,
as it exists, then like I wouldn't necessarily be able to have done this, I'm white, that's like the ultimate privilege, like I acknowledge that, and I grew up with like in like a good socioeconomic status. Like my parents like had enough money to like send me to activities, and like I never went hungry. Like that in itself, like my parents were able to like financially support me.
My parents were also like in the lower end of middle class range, but still middle class range. It makes a huge difference. It makes a difference in who you know, and who you know affects like your ability to get help with stuff, because the people you know are more likely to be in a comfortable position. And
definitely. Like I mean, an example I always give, because like I obviously teach vocals and speaking and singing and what have you, but I also do business mentoring, but I also work as like just like a personal mentor as well with some of my students. So I'm quite like I term myself, I guess, like an alternative educator. I kind of like all round, like if somebody comes into a lesson with me and they're just like not in a good place, like we may not do any voice stuff. We might talk about something because they need to like let off steam. But like I say particularly to like my sort of younger students when I'm talking about stuff like this, because it's amazing, they're really interested and they ask loads of questions, which is really awesome. But I'll say like, I had the privilege of like, when I decided to go self-employed, I was living at my parents' house. I was paying rent, but like I just stopped, and they didn't throw me out, and I knew they wouldn't throw me out. Like that's huge. Like I literally just quit my job, and like that was like a salaried job. I just quit it, and I started teaching, and I had like I don't know, like 4 students. And I started paying for a studio space because I was living with my parents. So I was like, sorry, parents, I do not have any money for you this month. Like, just sorry. And like that enabled me to be able to set up my business and like build it up and get clients in and, you know, build up my and what have you. And then like, yeah, like I started like earning a bit more money, and I was like saving money up. And then I was like, yeah, I'm not going to give my parents money for rent. No, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay for a training course so that I can continue my business because I know my parents aren't going to throw me out. Like that's a huge fucking privilege.
Yeah, no,
like,
it is.
you know?
I'm not going to disagree with you there.
Like,
It's, I mean, the fact that my parents are willing to help me with my living situation, and my roommates I've known for years, and so they're not going to throw me out. And because they're still my friends, that's a factor. Although they do want me out seriously badly, so I don't want to push that luck forever.
yeah, and like there's obviously like varying degrees of privilege and stuff, and I think like it just like I can't even remember how I got onto this subject now.
I can't remember either, and that
I'm very passionate about it. Like,
yeah, and it's and the thing is, it's definitely a factor, because I know like yeah, like I'm decent at unintentionally passing for neurotypical. I think probably partially because I took I assume it's because I took advanced speech in high school and marketing, which are both classes to try to figure out how to speak to people, or that's how I was using them.
yeah.
But when it comes to jobs, I have been terrible, and I haven't been I haven't until recently figured out how I'm going to be able to do that, surviving on my own thing, not living with roommates and stuff. It involves part-time work and the cheapest studio apartments that aren't likely to be infested.
Yeah.
So like I've found $500 or less studio apartments that aren't likely to be infested, or you know, renting rooms from people who had more privilege and decided to, because it's cheaper to buy a house and pay mortgage than it is to pay rent.
And like that just annoys me so much. Like, I mean, I rent, but like I'm able to rent like a decent place. Like I said, like, you know, I have a lot of privilege, and like the thing is, I think also like because I was like raised, you know, as though I was neurotypical, although that obviously caused like, you know, a lot of problems for me, like, you know, emotionally, mentally, you know, like trauma and what have you, because like I was masking, but like people didn't know I was masking. Like it's not like, you know, because I just kind of, you pick, you know, when you're a kid, you get these like implicit messages from people saying things, and you kind of, you know, particularly I think when you're neurodivergent and you realize and you're kind of feeling like, well, I find this really hard, but like everyone else around me seems to be finding it really easy. So then you just mask harder, and like you learn to mask just because of the society that we live in, the way that society is set up. And so like, but because I was raised like that, it's like, although I was struggling and like, it was like, I would constantly be second guessing myself. Like I have huge imposter syndrome around like just everything. I would like really, you know, I'd really struggle to like understand if like, does that person actually like really like me, or are they be, you know, like I'd really struggle with all those things, but I would just assume everyone else struggled with those things as well. Like I didn't know that was weird. Like not weird, but like, do you know what I mean? Like,
not typical, and therefore
I don't even I'm saying like I don't even agree like with not typical. It's like it's I feel like that
not
typical is like
it's uncommon, and
the majority, I guess.
I'm trying to figure out the best way to essentially say the majority of people don't struggle with that in terms of society.
Nothing inherent to the experience.
Well, and society is set up at the moment. I was going to say to benefit the majority, but that's not true.
No, it's not.
There are aspects of society that are set up to benefit the majority, but most of society is set up to help a bunch of rich white people. Which, by the way, I know you live in the UK, and fuck the royalty. They're racist pricks, and they get money from the government to be rich and wave at people.
The monarchy disbanded. That would be great. Can we?
Yeah.
Do that.
So this is what happens when I talk with Sophia a bunch, and she's also from the UK, although she was born in South Africa, but I've been co-hosting on her show, so I'm picking up all this UK shit, and I'm just yeah.
I tend to try I literally don't. I was talking about this the other day actually, and I was because I'm in such a queer neurodivergent bubble now, particularly because we're in lockdown, my life has been online for the last year. I've barely stepped out my front door. So my community, I've found my community, which is amazing, but also I'm now in such a bubble of people that all think the same way as me, and occasionally I get a glimpse outside the bubble and I'm oh shit, yeah, I am the minority. That's weird.
And
what?
There's
in this mindset, and it's ridiculous, but and
there are people who will quite clearly let you know that you're in the minority.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think I just remembered how we got onto privilege, because I was saying about how everyone has unconscious bias, internalized beliefs and what have you, because of the society that we're in, because of different privileges, and it is our job to undo that in ourselves, and unlearn that. And I am aware of that, and I'm very passionate about intersectionality. I'm also aware that I'm white, and I just cannot understand what it is to not be white and to not have that privilege, and I think that is a huge thing. And again, the people that I surround myself with have the same viewpoint as me, which is we have to unlearn this in ourselves, and we are gonna fuck up, because I've had raised on this is how society works, and this and this, and you have,
not just that, how this is how it should be. Oftentimes is put into place, and there isn't really any the way society should, if you break things down to an ethical sense, the way society should be is the way that causes the least harm to people, and
I feel that's minimum as well,
and or promotes the greatest happiness.
I was gonna say
well, I mean, usually harm, usually the more you reduce harm, the more you end up increasing happiness overall, because obviously overworking yourself to try to make everyone else happy is you causing harm to yourself. So I mean, that is also not a good thing, and I think you end up with an end result of people being decently happy if you reduce the harm the most. Although
I mean, if your happiness depends on the marginalization of another person, then you're doing it wrong.
That's a nice way to put it.
That is.
I have sort of a topic changing, well, not entirely topic changing, but a question about it. It is that if somebody comes in for voice training, is there any way to estimate, how long it will be before they'll start seeing the kind of results that they'll find useful? Or
that's a super good question, and I would say no. I think like
Too many variables.
Yeah, there are. Like the way I approach like voice training is very individualistic, if that's the right kind of phrase. Like I'm very much about like,
so.
okay, what does this person want? Like, you know, like I'm not gonna just like, you know, I don't have like templates that, you know, like somebody rocks up and I'm just like, okay, we do this and then this and then this. Like no, like my template is to be like, what do you want to do with your voice? Like what do you want to know? What do you want to be able to do? And sometimes they like people come and they don't necessarily know what they want to do, you know, be that singing or speaking. And that's cool. And then we just explore and figure out. So then I can like present them with like options of like, well, here's some things that the voice can do and this is how the voice works, and here's some examples of stuff, and we just kind of like start kind of exploring it and breaking it down, and then figuring out the best approach for them. Like sometimes people come in with like, oh, I really want to be able to like sing this song or what have you, or I really want to like sound like this, and it's like, cool, that's amazing, we've got like a goal to look at. So then I can kind of break down like how to, like I find like sort of figure out like, you know, do some stuff with them to like figure out like where they are at the moment and their understanding, and then we kind of break down like what it's going to take to get there, but also the understanding of like, it's not about like replicating somebody else, it's about like finding your authentic voice and your way of approaching that like sound or song or what have you. And then even just like the approach, like I've got a lot of neurodivergent students, surprisingly enough, because
people flock to places that are friendly to them.
So like, you know, I've got some students that are like super like, give me like loads of goals and like lots of like, you know, exercises, and like I want to, you know, and they have like maybe the discipline or, you know, the support system in place to be able to like practice like loads because that's what they want to do. I have other students that literally they come and they do stuff with me in the lesson like once a week or whenever, and they don't do stuff outside of that. Like fine, and then I will like discuss it if like that isn't like conducive to their goals. You know, I'll talk to them about it and be like, hey, how can I help you with that? Like I sometimes schedule texts for students so they get a text every day to remind them to do this exercise or something. Or for some students I will set like, okay, you're going to do this amount, you know, this and this and this and what have you. And for some students I just go, see what you do this week, and then they tell me the next week. And it has to be a very individual approach. So it's very hard to estimate
I can tell you my approach because I mean I had a small amount of voice practice, but I instead went for the Band-Aid approach, which is what is the easiest thing, and once I started doing it full time, because like switching back and forth was not helpful. I needed to go full time to do it, but I was like, what is the most Band-Aid sort of way to sound decent? And I was just do the tightening of the upper part of the throat by tightening the bottom of the jaw thing, and that's like what I do. A Band-Aid approach.
Yeah, like so I term those shortcuts, I think, probably.
Yeah.
So, like I get what you mean. And like I mean even that, so like if we're talking about speaking, my approach with that is very much like one of the first things I want to figure out is like, do you want to explore your voice to like adjust it all the time, or is it like for just certain situations, like work, or like even just, you know, when you feel a little bit more uncomfortable? Like, because some people just want to, you know, have like a voice that they can switch into to feel slightly like safer, like masking, you know, passing, like all of these sorts of things, because it's safer for them. And some people want to adjust their voice to like permanently, so that when like, even if they're just like talking to themselves, and that you need a very different approach for both of those, because one needs longevity and another is more of a performance.
And that's why, because I tended to want to do it for talking all the time. That's why I tended to go for the more shortcut approach, just because it's easier to practice, and because it's easier to practice, it's easier to do all the time. And it's just one of those things where it works for me, but it's a terrible choice to use for singing.
Yeah,
which
so
is another sort of thing which requires a whole different set of skills, and we are past the 1 hour mark, so we can continue off topic. It's
nice.
It's the secret.
Did we manage to actually stay on topic at any point?
We did occasionally. We roughly stayed on topic. I know we go. Yeah, but to be fair, we go off topic on this show a lot, and we will. I mean, I'm sure we'll still bring up masking and passing, because like there are still elements of that. That said, singing is a different thing.
Yeah, definitely. So like just before we go on to like singing, I just wanted to say with like speaking with the voice and what have you, like there are so many different things that you can do to like adjust your voice. What I have found is like the thing with shortcuts, and like you said, like it works for some people and that's cool and that's amazing, and if you're happy with it, that's great. But like my approach is very much like longevity of the voice, like making sure you're like not damaging your voice and you're like supporting it correctly and what have you, because it's like, particularly like I get a lot of people kind of saying things like like I really like this sound that I make, but like I can't project it, like I can't be loud with it, or like when I get like upset, like I can't maintain it and things like that. And it's because it's because they've done shortcuts, and like for some people that's fine, but then for some people it's like they want that like longevity and the ability to kind of like just to know how your voice works. And I know like this doesn't work for everybody, but like I'm quite like deep dive on it. That was another elastic band.
It's fine. Like, I assume you have a bag or whatever.
I do. I mean, this like these are like the reason these have become my stim is because they're on my desk for teaching, because I use them to as like an example of like explaining the vocal folds.
I mean, yeah.
So that's why they're here. But yeah, like I come from a very like, this is how your voice works, and like here are all the different options, and like explore the different things that you can do and understand how you're doing it, and then you can kind of just pick what you want to do and then like practice that and play with that, which is kind of the same approach I have to singing. It's just different things that you play with, like sort of more extended, like it's more like extending it really. And
definitely like I said, I didn't just do one thing. I played with things and just wanted to do something that I could do, because I don't have money for voice practice. I'll be honest there. I don't. And
that's the thing as well. It's a privilege to be able to pay for like, do you know what I mean? For voice training. Like,
I mean, when I was working for a period of time before I got hit by a car as a pedestrian, but that's another story. I did pay for some small amount of voice practice, and it's not like I haven't looked into stuff and studied some things. And some things I apply more to the idea of singing. So like I don't do the same thing for speaking as for singing.
Okay.
Or at the very least I try not to.
So like, and say it depends on like what you're doing, and like you said, like if it works for you, then that's cool. Like singing and speaking. So something I find a lot of people have when they first come to me for singing is they have like a singing voice and then a speaking voice, and it's like they're completely disconnected, but actually it's like you're using the same tools, it's the same equipment, and
curses, I've been doing it wrong this whole time.
It just depends on the thing that you're looking to produce, because like, yeah, so I mean, like the best example I can give you is like, so if somebody's talking like this or what have you, and then they start singing, and this often, I would say this happens more with kind of like probably people aged like maybe 30 up, because it's kind of people that were sort of basically like my age or older, I guess, because and maybe like a little bit younger, because we would like sing in school, and it would all be very like, oh, things bright and pure, like this, and like stuff like that. So there's this like concept of like singing that's like very different from speaking. So somebody might come to me and they'll talk, fine and everything, and then they'll start singing, and they'll kind of go into like a very like light, breathy, kind of like floaty sound.
Oh yeah, I don't do that because I am age 30 plus, 35. But like I don't do that because although I was taught that a little bit, I also during a lot of like Jewish festivals, we sang prayers or whatnot. So I play around with singing with that, and obsessively singing Les Miserables. Look down, don't look them in the eye. And I went off tune there, but that's beside the point.
But like, and I think like this comes back to like intersectionality as well, though, because it's about like your like upbringing and your culture and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, I have people, like the example I gave was, I went to a I can't remember, what did I go to, a C of E school? I don't know, I don't do religion. I'm afraid I'm just, but like, and it's like, that's the standard, like you just you sing stuff in, and there's like this kind of generalized thing of again, just these expectations of like, this is how society is, this is what you do, and you go to this school, and it's like, so, but like, other people who have grown up maybe with like parents who are really into like rock, like heavy rock or something, like they have a very different approach to how they sing, because they've grown up around something different. Like I grew up around like Beverly Craven and musicals and like stuff like that. So like I sort of, and I had singing lessons from a young age, whereas like people will come to me who've never had singing lessons before, and they it's about understanding their approach to their voice to start with, of like what they do instinctually, to then kind of go, okay, cool, so this is like really good, this is really good, and then like these are the things for us to like work on and explore, so that you can kind of find that sound that you're looking for, because there's just so many different sounds within music, and it depends on the like what kind of thing you want to sing, like why you want to, like, just there's so many elements. And they work together more than people think more than people sing. That's a funny accidental Freudian slip. But so like rap music, a lot of rap artists can sing like decently well, and because there is like it's not just speaking what they're doing. No, absolutely. I actually taught a rap artist, someone who wanted to rap for a little while, years and years ago, and like when he first came to me, I actually did like full singing exercises with him, because he wasn't like getting into a flow with the rhythm and stuff, and like he was kind of monotoning it, just like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you need to like play with it, and like, so it was just connecting that for him, and just learning how he was seeing it, and then being able to explore that.
Because rap is just, because there is a flow. You don't go mono. It's just like, rap. See, I can't do it if I'm nervous. I'm too nervous to try to rap, despite how much I have obsessively made rap songs in my head and written poetry and
That's cool.
Rap that never gets sung and oftentimes gets deleted. But that's another story. That's a story of self-confidence.
Yeah. And like, I mean, that's really like, that's something that I come across a lot with people that come to me as well, because it's like, yeah, like sometimes honestly the first thing that you have to do when you're exploring like singing, or even like if you're playing around with speech, is to actually like explore your confidence and explore your like some like your insecurities and stuff, because it's like the voice is so intimate, like it's really a personal thing, and like, you know, playing around with it, like, yeah, it's a little, it's big, it's a big emotional thing, so like sometimes like I've had students that like I've had lessons and we've had 4 or 5 lessons and like they've not sung yet, like because we're still building up their confidence, and so we work on breathing and we like play around with like different things and just approach it from different angles, like speaking things, and I often play around with like ridiculous noises. I love a bit of like silly noises, because we use our voice in so many more ways than we think. So like I often like to say like, well, how would you like talk to an animal, for example? Like, what would you do? Like, how would you use your voice to talk to an animal?
I'm sorry, one of the cats in here is sleeping on my bed, and I'm just like, I'm so tempted to pick him up now and just like be like, hey there, Odin, like, how are you doing? That sort of thing, like, because that's
straight away, like,
yeah. Like the other thing is I did like the idea of acting stuff, so I did look into acting stuff as well, which also applies to rap, speaking, music, everything that's a performance. And the more you understand yourself, the more you can like recreate some of the aspects of that. I can even though I am capable of making myself cry if I have to.
That's skill.
Yeah, it's skill. That said, it is easy to make me cry, so that may also be a factor.
But like I think you're absolutely right. Like singing, it's about like it's connecting with the performance of it. Like I've said this all the time. Like I say this all the time. Is like you could have somebody that technically, you know, all the technical stuff within singing, within their voice is like spot on. It sounds amazing. Yeah. But like if they are not performing it with emotion, if they're not singing it with emotion, like it there's something missing. Like you know, if I mean, you said like Les Mis, like if I did like I dreamed a dream in times gone by when hope was high and life worth, like I'm not putting anything into it, like the notes are fine, it's, you know, but if I'm like, okay, so like because you said like obviously like performing, it's like kind of like masking, but it's like purposeful. I find that very different. Like
it is. It's more like what you mentioned before, like code switching. It's more like that, because it's because you are still, whenever you're performing, you are still putting yourself out there, and you're just picking which aspect of yourself fits with the character you're portraying. And so
and I think, but you're in control of it, and you know that the people around you know that you're like, that's not you, like, you know, like,
but I mean it's a part of you, it's still a part of you, like, you know.
I used to say that, like, and I would definitely say that is for some people, but not for everybody, honestly. Like,
that's true too.
Yeah, like some people definitely connect with like a part of themselves for acting and like, you know, pull out their own emotions. But like, I would say that there are definitely actors who they do not connect with that emotion, but they can portray it really well. Like, you know.
And my style that I vibe with more is the one where it is like a part of myself, because that's like, just my style. But I know what you mean, because it's the different various forms of acting, and this also applies to singing as well.
Yeah. I mean, like, if I, like, so just for example of, like, you know, I dreamed a dream, like, just without any kind of, like, emotion. Whereas if I, like, I dreamed a dream and time's gone by when hope was high and life worth living.
Yeah.
Like, you approach it completely differently. And like, the thing is, I'm even doing, like, technically I'm doing different things, like vocally, technically I'm doing different things to if I just, like, blocked it through technically well. Like,
yeah, so that to bring it back to passing, that also applies to passing as well, because when you are, so if I try to forcibly pass, like, on a technical level, I will not seem as feminine as if I just decided to be myself. And I realize passive femininity is complicated because, like, I'm agender like half the time, and that's its own complicated thing. But like when it comes to, like, for survival, there are enough feminine aspects of my personality just naturally that it's I come off as more feminine if I stop thinking about it as much and I'm just myself. Yeah. And there are aspects of that I feel like with music when it comes to, like, I get the impression, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, that, like, you intuit some of the changes when you try to express an emotion in any sort of musical performance.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, so when I'm, like, thinking about the emotion more, like, then vocally I'm gonna do other things, like, different things. And, like, so in that aspect, in that sense, then, like, if you're kind of, like, allowing yourself to, like, just embody that sort of, like, side of you, that sort of more, you know, feminine side, however you perceive that, like, however that is, whatever that means to you, then, like, potentially, and like I said, I think, like, it's different for everybody, but, like, potentially you will kind of automatically do certain things that would be perceived as more feminine, because, like, that's what femininity is to you. And I think, like, confidence of, like, with, like, acting, for example, it's like the confidence that what you are showing is the thing that the audience wants to see. Like, that's kind of half of it almost, because it's like, if I, like, you know, like, if I'm confident that, like, I am, like, in this character and I'm playing this character and I'm singing this or whatever, like, then I have confidence with that, so that makes it more believable. Or even just in terms of having conversation, seeming more confident makes it easier to listen to you. I know that's a code switch I do when it comes to you know, stop thinking about things so much. It's sort of like some of the basic elements of meditation. It's like just focusing on applying more conversation and not focusing on as much or at all on potential ways people might think about you. Now, that does not apply to me for singing all the time, because I have not sung much in public or done much of any performance of that particular style in public, and it starts to it's a lot easier for me to lose confidence because I haven't acclimated myself to that particular thing yet. Yeah, definitely. And I think there's a lot of like expectation put onto, like, the music, which is frustrating. It's like elitist, like, you know, being a performer, it's like there's an elitist kind of, like, thing with it, you know. It's like, oh, you must be good, you must do it this way, you must do, and it's like, just do it. Like, if you enjoy it, like, do it. Like, and that's, like, easy for me to say, you know, but, like, like,
It's always easier to say than it is to do for like everything.
Yeah, but like that then kind of comes back to like how other people perceive you, and then like the experiences that we've had, you know. So like I experience, like I have rejection sensitive dysphoria, like, and I always just thought I was really sensitive, and it's like now I'm like finding out that this is something that like a lot of other people experience.
Yeah, I experience that as well sometimes. I know it's not obvious considering how many people I have sent email. I have asked a lot of people to come on the show. I'm like the main person who does it, so it might not seem like I get sensitive to rejection because I can distance myself from that. I'm better at distancing myself from that, but like there are certain things where it's just like I can't deal with it. Yeah. I'm just like, this is going to be the worst thing ever, and if I do anything wrong, I will lose this person as a friend. They'll cut me out of every aspect of their life.
Yeah, like I completely get you. And like that like seeps into every part of your life, you know, like I've definitely found that, like, and like I find myself, you know, like questioning myself, like, oh, did I I mean, my common one is like, did I talk too much? Like, yes, I did, because I always talk too much. But like, I mean, I actually like published an article about this a little while back, because I was just like, I have always called myself to, like, I've always seen myself as too much. Everything I do, I talk too much. I am like, I'm too big. I'm like big with everything. I'm too loud with everything. I'm too over the top. I'm too I'm too inquisitive. Like, I'm like, I want to know everything. I'm too PC. I've heard that a lot. Like, whenever I'll pick people up on things, and it's like, oh, you're just being so like too PC. And I'm just like, but that is mean, and you shouldn't do it. And like,
don't use the R slur.
Felt my whole life, and like, you know, and it's like, it's not even just like things like that, obviously, but like, even, you know, like I could, when I was a teenager, I would get like, you know, upset over like things that were perceived as like smaller, basically like microaggressions and things, right? And people would be like, oh, shut up, I didn't mean it like that, or what have you. And I'm just like, but that's not like cool. And like, and I was led to believe that like my approach to things was too much, that I was you know, too like sensitive to everything. And like that had a knock-on effect, you know, into my life. So it's like, yeah. Well,
I was gonna say also, there's obviously a lot of conservative people shame people for being too sensitive. Like, that's a bad thing to be sensitive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was something that helped me like start to kind of like feel better about like, no, actually this is important, and like this is important to me, and I'm like gonna stick with it. But even so, like, yeah, I mean, rejection sensitive, like I still have an email sitting in my drafts to send to a company. It's like a program that I use, and I sent some feedback being like, hey, it would be really cool if you could change this, because like this is a thing that is causing me problems because of my disability, and like, could you just change it? And they kind of replied with like, oh, you know, and like I've had several emails back and forth with them, and like each time like explaining more and like revealing my disability and like things like this that I shouldn't have to do. And then like the last email I got was like, we hear you, and like we understand, like, and we're doing our best, but like we're kind of like rewriting it completely at the moment, so like, you know, we can't do it. And I just like, I absolutely, honestly, the email, if I actually get the nerve to send it, I will be so proud of myself, because I literally am just like, look, because they're thinking from this this is how the world is, and this is how the world should be. They're not stopping to think like, hang on a sec, like, we, like, you know, maybe our angle is maybe incorrect, because like people don't even think that like they don't even understand that, like they just accept what's given to them.
Well, also, I mean, it doesn't help that companies focus entirely on profit, and doing something for that's helpful for marginalized groups doesn't. They weigh, you know, how much money they get for
the benefit of it.
Yeah, the benefit of it. And because at the moment, because trans rights are being attacked, companies are more likely to focus on stuff with relation to that than they are disability rights, because they pick and choose whatever seems the most popular at the time, and then they will drop it as soon as people get acclimated to trans rights and stuff like that.
And I think and this was kind of what like frustrated me about this particular company, because I'd actually had really good like communication with them on another issue previously, where they had like listened to what I'd said, and been like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for bringing this up, like we just hadn't really realized, and we're so grateful that you like brought it up and like, really changed it, and like they were really great. And so then I was like, so now I feel safe, right? Because I'm like, this is actually like, they're really great, they're listening to me, they care about like inclusivity and like all of this. And so like I emailed them a bunch of other things that I was like, well, this would be really helpful as well, because this and this, like, and then it's like, oh yeah, now I'm experiencing RSD again, because now I'm back in that situation where I've realized that I've taken it too far now, like I should have stopped, like, and I'm just like, why should I have stopped? There's issues, let me tell you about them, you can fix them, make everything better, like but then like
make
it's so hard to advocate
great
for yourself.
Again. Sorry.
Huh?
Oh, I said make programs great again, but like, sorry, it's just.
Oh no, but like it's this thing of like what, like,
you do stop and you go, am I being the jerk here? Did I push it too far? Did I go too far?
I do that to myself all the time, and I'm lucky enough that like I have people around me now that will like listen and be like, no, Becki, like you're being completely fair, like they're being ridiculous, like you're absolutely right, it's okay. But like that doesn't change the fact that I feel like destroyed inside by like reject, like, and it's things like that like people don't get. And it's like, if you just like stopped and like looked at the world for a second, look at your privilege and start unpacking it, and like think about maybe the way that the world is set up, maybe it's not ideal actually. Like what if you think that, like what would you change if you sort of looked at like the way that everything functions and questioned it all, rather than just accepting that that's how things are? Like, how would people change their approach to stuff if they did that? Because that's what people should be doing.
There should be an end goal, though it doesn't help that society is not helpful for that, because people don't make the best decisions when they're put in desperate situations. And as society is now, a lot of people are, well, it's at least in America, a lot of people are, very paycheck to paycheck, and that is not helping anything improve, because they're more likely to go for the knee-jerk stuff for survival.
But even like people that want to make a difference and a change, it's like, if you're not in a privileged like situation, like if you are living paycheck to paycheck, like that makes it so much harder to like even just advocate for yourself. Like, do you know what I mean? Because it's like, like one of the reasons that I haven't sent this email to this company yet is because like, I mean, I pay for this service, right? But like also I pay for their service. I have a lot of like stuff and data on their service, right? So like they could just decide to like be like, yeah, bye. Like they have that power, and like
we don't need you as a customer.
Like I have invested like time and energy and like resources into using their service and their product, and it's a part of how I run my business now. So it's like, I'm then like, do I kick up a fuss because I have the privilege to be able to do that, but then also I have rejection sensitive dysphoria, and that could like, I mean, I've literally had to like cancel stuff and just lie in bed because of feeling like, you know, just like destroyed from like emotions and stuff before.
Yeah.
And it feels like I'm being dramatic, but I'm just like, it hurts.
Yeah, no, I totally know what you mean, because I have had, I mean, I had like potential shit. I think that was full-on panic attack as well, about you know, trying to complete a job application. And that just I couldn't do it. I couldn't finish it. I just had to like step away and lie down.
Okay, so what is it they are asking me?
Oh, wait, are you talking about
every question is a mystery?
Yeah, like you having to second guess it with the job, like.
Well, it wasn't even that. It was just the fact that having a job is important. Because it was important, it made it that much more easily intimidating that day, because of I just was not in a good headspace for it. So it's just like the fact that just filling it out and trying to get it, make sure I get it decently right. Like, it wasn't even about the questions. It was just like starting to fill it out and then deal with, get to like previous jobs and that shit, and then like had a panic attack then or whatnot from just I couldn't deal with it that day.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I definitely struggle to fill out forms all the time. Like, I mean, you know, I'm self-employed, so a lot of like what I do, I have like contracts for my students and what have you.
Yeah.
But like so first of all, like my contracts, I have like written them from scratch, and they include a lot of stuff that other contracts don't. Like, I have inclusivity stuff in it, I have accessibility stuff in it, and I don't just mean like, oh, wheelchair accessible. Like, no, I mean like if you need to like have a fiddle toy in a lesson, or like if you need reminders for your lessons, like things like that. And I also say to people, like, if you struggle to fill out forms, like tell me, like I'll find a way to, like, you know, if we have to do like a Zoom call to go through the form, and I'll like talk you through it, and I will just write down your answers, and then you can like read it over and sign it. Great, that's fantastic. Like that contract, that form is just there to protect both of us. So like, how can I make it more accessible for you? Like, I don't want, like, I would love to just go on trust with everybody, and like, you know, 99% of the people I work with are, you know, have always been amazing. But I have been bitten in the past. I have had people who I thought were like fine, and then they have like, you know, been assholes to me, you know. And it's like, so this contract protects me, and like, but like also I get that like everybody has different needs and accessibility things. So it's like, yeah, let me help you. Like, I set up some like trans voice groups, so I'm running like trans voice groups at the moment in order to be more financially accessible. So we have groups instead of it being one-to-one, and I'm working on like a pay what you can, pay what you feel like system, with like no questions asked. If you like, this is the price of the sessions generally. If you can't pay that, that's fine. Like, tell me what you can pay. Like, that's fine. Like, and it works the other way as well, that I have some people that are like in a situation where they can pay more, so they like contribute a little bit more so that it can like balance it out, you know, so that like I can still pay my bills, you know. And it's like, I have worked very hard to make everything I do like inclusive and accessible, and I will continue to do that. And like every time I see something that I'm like, oh, that could be better, like I will make, like, I'll put that work in to make it better. Like, it might take me some time because of my own disabilities, but like I have that approach. And it's like, when I'm then talking to a company that has like, you know, whatever, like 10 employees, let's say, not even like a huge company, but like, you know, 10 employees or what have you, they make enough money to pay all of those people a wage. And I'm just like, they turn around to me and say, oh no, we can't implement this like one small thing because we're a small company. And I'm like, I'm a self-employed. I do everything for my own company. And I'm like, I'm like, sometimes I'm like this close to being like, would you like me to send you my contract that I have with clients so you can see like how I do accessibility? Because like, I'll be honest, I'm doing it better than you. Like with most like these companies.
Honestly, I'm not sure that would. I don't know. Here's the thing. I never know. Like, what would I don't pick up on social cues always. So like a part of me is like, that's a good idea.
See, right?
Yeah, I'd go. I'd suggest to you
idea.
Saying back to them, okay, I see where this is going. Let me ask you, would you like to hire me as an accessibility expert?
Oh my God, I've done that. Like
That's the conversation we need to be having.
I'm not like an accessibility consultant, and I would never like claim to be, because there are people who do it like a bajillion times better than me out there. But like I offer peer chats, for example, which the intention of that is basically if you would like me to spend emotional labor explaining things about my identity to you, you can pay me for that. Like basically. Because people will come to me and be like, oh, can you just explain what non-binary means? And I'm like, yeah, you can pay me for that, or you can go and find because like, quite frankly, I have explained it. If you care to look through my social media, like you will find that information. Like, so yeah, I have it for that. And then I also have it from the point of view of like, if somebody just wants like somebody to chat to, like that is like, you know, somebody that they understand, so like a queer neurodivergent person that they just kind of need like a, you know, somebody to like talk about things that just isn't as scary or like as expensive as like a therapist or what have you. And again, like I do it on like a tier basis. But so I have this information on my website, but then on that page as well, I say like, if you're a company and you're interested in talking to me about these things that I have listed that I can talk to you about, of like, you know, neurodivergency, queerness, like these sorts of things, contact me, and like we can come up with a system for that. And like, you know, I find I'm very out of the box with my thinking, which I think a lot of neurodivergent people find that as well. So like I will kind of look at something and be like, well, what about this? Like, and it'll be something that they just haven't thought about. So yeah, when I like email a company sometimes to kind of be like, oh, hey, did you know that this thing that you're doing is ableist, or that this thing that you're doing is like, you know, actually a microaggression of like, you know, queerphobia or something. Like I will be like, and also if, you know, and I'll be like, I'll put the emotional labor in. Sometimes I will spend like hours like writing emails and stuff, because I'm like, I want to help make things better. And I'm like, that's something that I can do. And then I'm like, if you would like more, like, you know, let me know. We can like talk about what the options is. Yeah, people don't like that. They don't like that.
That's,
and I'm like, but I'm trying to give you useful information. Like
that's just, that is so frustratingly annoying. Because clearly with a lot of companies, it's not, it's so far down in terms of their priority that they probably consider being accessible fucking luxury.
Oh, it's an add-on. Like, it's considered an add-on. And I'm just like, you're doing it wrong. Like,
yeah,
if you build it from, like, with it built in, it, like, yeah, it's like you don't build a build. Well, I say this, you shouldn't do this. People obviously do this. You don't build a building and then go, let's add a ramp. Like, no. Yeah. Design it with the goddamn ramp. Design it with the accessible toilet and gender neutral. Design it with the correct, access to all of the floors. Don't lock the goddamn lift. Like,
and also, don't, if there's an event in the building, don't open up, and especially if it relates to wheelchair and disability stuff, don't limit the number of bathrooms open because there's oftentimes fewer disability-related bathrooms, so you should make sure all those bathrooms are open. Yes, I'm referring something I talked about with something Emily specific. Like a few weeks ago, but still.
Like, no, absolutely. But yeah, it's like, oh yeah, let's have like, let's have, binary gender toilets and then one disabled toilet. And it's like, how have you got it so incredibly wrong?
Yeah.
Like, just...
Look, how? you can look. They'll have a gender neutral toilet. There's one on the third floor. Yeah, in this weird like roundabout way.
For the like lift, if you want to get like like it's ridiculous. Like,
one in this 30-story building. There's one gender neutral bathroom.
Yeah. Oh, and like the caretaker is on their smoke break, so like you're just gonna have to wait 10 minutes. It's ridiculous, and it's like that's a really like that's easy to talk about and see because it's like a physical things with like toilets and ramps and things like that. But then that comes in for accessibility for neurodivergency and like mental health and stuff as well. Like like don't make it a requirement, like even just on Zoom, like since we've been on Zoom for stuff, right? Like I basically shifted all of my lessons onto Zoom overnight, like when back at the beginning of 2020, and it was a big learning curve for me and what have you. But like all the schools did that as well, and the amount of people I see that are like, yeah, our school is like requiring all the kids to have their cameras on. No, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. And like I'm even bad at eye contact. I'm sure they also fucking do eye contact.
Oh yeah, like, all of these things, and it's like, but it's like they'll like argue it, be like, oh, it's like a safeguarding thing. It's a this, it's a that. It's like, not like you like they're so like narrow-minded with what they see. It's like you have to do this, this, and this, and it's like, why do you have to do this and this? Oh, because that's the way it's always been done. And I'm like, that's a problematic sentence. That should not be the answer. Try again. Like, try again.
Incorrect. You answered wrong. We're being nice about it. We're giving you another try. Give a different answer. You can do better.
Yeah, and it's like, because there are so many, like when you start kind of looking into it, it's like, there is a lot of things to consider for accessibility, and like people get annoyed because it's like to go back to the sort of like a building thing. It's like we put a ramp out the front. Is that not enough? And it's like, no, like it's the same. It's like, oh well we let our students not have their cameras on. Is that not enough? It's like, no, everything. Like you need to inspect everything. Like why are you doing things that way? Because also like people, like neurodivergent people, like I find it, and most of the neurodivergent people that I've spoken to, we find it harder to advocate for ourselves because of trauma and like gaslighting and like RSD and like all of these things. It's harder for us to speak up and say, I need this for accessibility.
It's a social thing to begin with. I mean, it's a social thing that then you're saying, if I have a social disability.
Yeah.
And like, then you're telling me that I can fix that if I just do social things.
If I just tell you it, like if I just talk to you, that thing that I struggle with, cool, excellent, yeah, let me do that. Like, and yeah, like that whole thing of like, if you need accessibility, just ask, and it's like,
yeah,
like. And like,
I'm not sure you understand how this works.
Like, are you not aware of what might like? Then they're not like.
Well, I'm sure they learned everything you need to know about autism from Autism Speaks. I'm sure. No!
I am campaigning to have this face as like an emoji react for that name.
Yeah, no, fuck that organization. Right? It's terrible. Like, it's like, we can cure autism with masking, and also autism is a disease that needs to be eradicated shit
makes me so angry.
Yeah, no, it is horrible, and yeah, no, and it has praise from wonderful people like William Shatner.
No, like, yeah, it's
William Shatner's not a wonderful person. That part was a joke, or an attempt at one.
/S, like tone indicators. Oh my god, I love tone indicators. They are so incredibly helpful for me.
Yeah, I need to work on utilizing tone indicators more. I do like the idea of them. I just haven't put the effort in, which is it's not helpful.
But like, it takes time, do you know? And I think like this is the thing. It's the thing is, it's not about like getting everything right straight away. You know, like if we think of like schools or companies or what have you, like it's not about them getting everything right straight away. It's about them being aware that they're getting things wrong, and then like working to figure out what they're getting wrong, and then like fix it as they can, and listen to people, like, and not like dismiss people when they say like this is a problem, which is what happens at the moment.
I really hate when people dismiss people. Like, if someone mentions something's a problem, there's a chance that it's a problem. And you shouldn't be dismissing it. And as for like tone indicators and stuff like that, like I think sometimes I get overwhelmed, and there's like a lot of different things I want to do, but also like I might need to take a break for something. I mean, there's a lot of things, and I do need to figure out living related stuff, and there are reasons. The only word I know in sign language is sorry.
Yeah, and like, but and this is the thing, like, to make the world accessible to us, we have to do the work. And it's like, that's exhausting as well. Like,
a lot of these things should just be taught in schools. I know it's taught like just letters of American Sign Language, and then like almost as a gimmick class in elementary school, and then like nothing more. And so of course I forgot like the letters, because like spelling out a whole word is more difficult than learning words. It's easier to say I'm sorry than it is to
spell it out with the absolutely. Like, I agree. And it's like, and that's, you know, like that concept of like having sign language as a kind of core subject in schools and what have you, like that is like absolute bare minimum that should be happening for accessibility and stuff, you know, like, and it's just so problematic. Like, I mean, I made a tweet about it the other day in response. I think somebody had put a tweet out saying like, oh, like they're doing like a paper or something about accessibility. They're asking for like advice and like things that neurodivergent people would like find helpful in education. I think it was about 4 a.m. or something when I tweeted it, and I was clearly just in like the I do not give a fuck Becki headspace, and was just like, honestly, the entire educational system is ableist. It needs to be scrapped and rebuilt with an intersectional approach. Like, I'm not going to give you individual suggestions, like just scrap the entire thing and start again. Like, I'm aware that's very, very big ask, but that's why I'm asking.
Well, the entire educational system is built on the lectern method, which has been dead since 1450 when they invented movable type. So,
like, this is the thing, it's not just the education system. Obviously that is like connected to like how society is set up and governments and all of this sort of crap, and it's like, like we're just like out here like trying to survive, and there are people that don't care, and that baffles me.
And the thing is, like,
people's survival,
like when it comes to changing big aspects of society, like, I don't, like, it's not like it's easy to just scrap it and restart, because, like, fascists like to take over when governments are scrapped, and
but the educational system right now is in flux because of the whole COVID thing.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
The educational
opportunity.
system. The educational system would be a great thing to try to restart, even if it's just in like one city.
Yeah.
Just have one city do it, and then show how much better it is, and then try to encourage other cities to do it. I mean, it's a similar thing with sheriff, because right now you get like a lot of former police officers being voted into being sheriff, and that should not be the case. You need people who aren't police officers, people who are actually going to try to make change to the police system, the policing system, instead of protecting police officers.
Sheriff is in most places an office which they are, you know, the who will watch the watcher? They're the watcher. They're supposed to watch the other police departments. They police the police departments.
The police watch the police. That sounds like a really
that's why they shouldn't be. That's why they're not supposed to be police officers.
Yeah.
Who retire from police officers and then run for sheriff.
Yeah.
You go,
that should not be the case, and that's why as soon as I sort out some living stuff, I will have to I've been inspired by Arya, and I'm like, I do kind of want to run for sheriff in like, St. Paul or Minneapolis.
Like, if you can do it, like, do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, because the problem is that the reason that those people get those positions of power is because of the privilege that they have.
Yeah, no, I know.
Gives them this goddamn privilege.
Yeah,
and,
no,
like,
I know. And that's why.
To get it.
Yeah, no, that's why I would have to do some of the things that AOC did. To get elected and that sort of stuff, because I wouldn't be in the same position as the people in power. That said, we are coming up to the ending time of the show. I know I think we're all technically capable of speaking forever, although Perfict, you speak the least of all of us, I think.
But I say the most.
Okay, that was a nice flex.
That was good. I like that.
So, well, we'll start with you, because you are the you're the quickest person to promote yourself. Where can people find you, Perfict?
The Rumpus Room Discord and this show. Those are my two social media outlets.
Yeah. It's super easy. It's the fastest one. Becki, where can people find you? And also, can you send me promotion links so I can figure out what you want to promote on the show, and then I can put it onto the episode?
Yeah, so I have a website, which is beckyshort.co.uk, Becki with an I, and then short as in small, because that's my surname. And I'm 4'11". Like, I'll just, you know, like, throw it out there. Everybody
you're like an inch shorter than my mom.
I'm a tiny human. Yeah, like, I will preface, like, well, not preface, after the fact of saying the website address, like, it needs updating. But like, there's some information on there, but like, I've just basically just been really busy, like, working with people, which is really awesome, that I've not had the executive function to sit down and rewrite the whole, like, basically all the singing, like, lessons and voice lessons section. The business mentoring section looks amazing, because I did it like in the first lockdown and I really went for it. But yeah, so like there's my website, and then I'm on Twitter, just at Becki Short. I'm on Instagram, which is at Becki Short Singer, and I'm on TikTok, which is at Becki Short. That's it. Like,
yeah, and we will we should have those links below when the episode airs. And well, I mean, technically, when it's set for scheduling.
Right now, like.
Well, I mean, this is a pre-record, so like, although it'll probably be put up for scheduled premiere today, because I don't need to edit it.
Yeah, I'll send you the links. But yeah, basically I do a lot of stuff. I guess like my core stuff that I do is like voice work, singing, singing and speech work. But then yeah, I offer peer chats and business mentoring as well. Just everything. And I like to talk about like, inclusivity and intersectionality and stuff online where I can, when I have the, emotional capacity.
And when it comes to like running a show requires more emotional capacity than being on a show. At the very least, starting when you start to run a show, and then you kind of get into somewhat of a comfort zone, but it can still be stressful depending on the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I have so many projects in the wings. Like I'm hoping to launch a Patreon later this year. Like I've just recently set up a Discord server that I'm just figuring out for like voice, tips and stuff. Like your typical kind of like, ADHD brain with like a bajillion like projects. I run a company as well. Did I mention that? I run a company. I run a performing arts company called Omni Arts GB, and we have a group called Queer Creatives that we run online, which is awesome. So yeah, I'll send you the link for that as well. But that's omniartsgb.co.uk. Also very out of date website because I have to update it because I'm self-employed. But yeah, we're on. Actually, don't look up the OmniArts socials because I have not used them in so long because I've just been
that's fine. Like we'll just put the important links down below under your name.
We are still active, I promise. Like just email.
Yeah, and I assume that's everywhere. You're mostly working on other stuff, so there's less of a concern about. There's nothing you are. There's no project that you're promoting at the moment, are you?
Not like specifically.
Yeah.
No, like I've got like I'd say the trans voice groups that I set up. I'm kind of we've had like a few sessions, so I'm kind of closing it and just kind of gonna be staying with the people that are in the groups for the moment, I think. Although we've got a few spaces in the like mask voice group, but like I'm like loving it, and I would love to set up more of those groups. So like if people are interested in voice groups for trans people, like email me, because if I have enough interest I can set up another group at another time and stuff like that. So.
And I would highly recommend that. As for me, you can find me at ozmainthedark.com. That actually has links to a lot of my stuff. You can find the Talking to Nothing minus the G, which is my Twitter, and here on the Fluid Voice on Mondays and Wednesdays. Actually, I should put a promotion, because I co-host Sophia's show on Mondays, so at like 6 or 7 BST. I can't remember her time. She's also in the UK, and the thing is, like, it was GMT, and now it's BST, and now it's like
we're in BST at the moment. Yeah,
so it's like it just makes things more confusing, and that's why I like ignore daylight savings time and have everything follow it.
Yeah.
But that being said, I'll update my website again to make it better. I'm slowly making my website better. But as Christy has said, and as I've stolen, and I immediately forgot all the words. No, your voice matters, your life matters, and you matter. And like I can remember it when I have to. And that's it. Have a wonderful like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Share it around, have some fun. And see you next time on the Fluid Voice. Bye.
Peace.